taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast for March 4th, 2020. My name is Ash, I'm here as always with Cybsidian, and it's going to be a bit of a different show today. Today we're doing a deep dive into the Baldur's Gate gameplay and the cinematics that were revealed at PAX East. We are going to be putting the videos up on the screen as we talk through them, and so it's going to be a bit of a show, less focus on news, more focus on just sort of a deep dive analysis into Baldur's Gate 3 and what this game is, what it offers. We talked about it, well, quite a bit on the previous podcast, but we're actually going to go even deeper this time. So, hope you stick around for that and enjoy that. As always, though, this part never changes. Please do put your questions and comments in the live chat. We'd love to know what you're thinking. And, let us know what you like, when you like something you see, and, what you think about this game. I know, reactions to this have generally been positive. I'm going to bring up the first bit of the...
Overwhelmingly positive,
yeah,
is how it's been received for the most part, yeah.
And it looks fantastic to me, as I've said a few times before. Baldur's Gate 2 was my first real RPG video game experience, and it really showed me what a video game was capable of being.
You never played Darklands?
I might have played Darklands, but in
like,
my younger days, I was more into the pew pew bang bang action games, and then I became more sophisticated in my video game tastes. And one of my friends lent me Baldur's Gate 2, and I was like, "Dude, this is dope." Anyway, those were my exact words. No, they weren't. But anyway, welcome everybody. Don't forget to slam that like button, and let's get started. So, Cyb, you've been sort of following, keeping your finger on the pulse of the internet as they react to this game. And some people are skeptical, critical of the fact that it differs from the gameplay style of previous Baldur's Gate titles in certain ways. And some people don't like that it is turn-based. So let's talk about that just a little bit.
The reaction briefly. Of the reaction in live was mostly like, "Oh my god, this is how I would play my D&D games with my friends." That was the normal, common reaction. Everybody was excited that this is exactly how they would have and have always wanted to play D&D with their friends and with their buddies. This is not something that is, or that was, or that it was sort of like faux D&D, which we've had a lot of that over the years. Remember all those D&D action games? Ugh, those were horrendous. Really, there's some really horrible console D&D games that are little better or little more than just a Diablo type ripoff. Like point and click, more point and click, more point and click. Just like it's a hybrid between an action and like a third person RPG, like hack and slash. It's more Witcher 2 than is anything resembling D&D. And there's two trains of thought on this, and it's very interesting to see. And again, this is where we're really interested in hearing from you guys, from the audience. I want to know what you think of, if you lived out a D&D experience. Is it that it's methodical and you're thinking, or is it just like running around smashing things and it comes across as an action-y type thing? I want to know what is the prevailing thought on this? What's the agreement? Is it that this is what the game should have been like? Is this what the D&D experience is like for you? Or is it something that's far more measured and team oriented kind of stuff? Because this is really where we have this and for the record, I don't think this is a bad disagreement. I think this is a disagreement that is based upon style and choice. There's a lot of people who are saying out of the reviewers and out of people who got to see, there was press got to see like a 2 or 3 hour gameplay showcasing. So in case some people were saying, "Oh no, this is just really early on. It's barely running. You know, there's not very much there to the game." No, there's a lot to the game already. Like there's an enormous amount to the game already.
It's
And
yeah.
they're just getting going on it. Like this thing is going to be available to play probably this year, most likely this year, in early access. It's the way that they did Divinity, and it's going to be come in, show us what you want, show us what you want to create. That's the kind of question that we're going to get. So this is the question that I'm proposing to everybody. It's like what is your idea? Is it a much more response measured world? Is it more, you know, MMORP-ish, RPG-ish? Is that the way that you see the D&D world when you're playing the game, or is it something that's far more actiony? It's more like Diablo. It's like you're running in, spells going everywhere. um, you know, is it more? What's another good example? Is it more SAO versus Goblin Slayer? So there's another great determination. SAO is very like hack and slash, like running in, smashing stuff. They don't really have tanks, whereas Goblin Slayer, it's like you know, Goblin Slayer's sitting there is like, if we all run in there, we're all gonna die. So we need to come up with like a legit strategy, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're asking
yeah.
what is it that people want to see out of this game?
No, no, no. What do people see out of the? Well, yes, that too. But what do people see out of what when they're playing D&D, or when they want to play D&D, or when they want to play like this dungeon crawling experience? What is the experience that they're going for? Are they going for a a hack and slash quick thing, or is it more measured, or is it more logical? Like what are what's that sort of thing? Um, like yeah, that's kind of like where I'm standing at, because there's been a big difference on this. Some people see the evolution of D&D games throughout the history of the gaming universe as this progression towards action gameplay, and that action gameplay is always where it was headed. Where other people are like, no, 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 it's all very strategic. It's far more like Goblin Slayer than it is like just run around hack and slash kind of thing. So that's the question that I'm proposing, because these are two very different types of gameplays. I don't think there's inherently a better one, because they each offer their the thing that you can't get in the other, and they both offer a unique experience. So that's more or less where I'm trying to what I'm trying to get at is like and
Okay.
that's what we're seeing here in the difference is there's some people who were in the chat, who were in like this live stream when it was out, and it was there at the conference, where they're like, how dare this game be turn based? How dare this D&D experience be turn based when all D&D experiences, as far as like
When you're
traditional
playing, yeah,
experiences,
when you're
are
playing
team-based?
tabletop D&D, it's turn-based. It's just built
Yeah,
into the nature of the game. And
yeah.
this is bringing
and
in
and
like
again, we've talked about what let me finish on this, and we've talked about this, how when it comes to what they were wanting to create, is they're wanting to create a tool that players can sit down and play a tabletop experience with their friends, a legitimate real tabletop experience with a GM, a dungeon master or a game master, that goes through and create scenarios off the top of their head. You want to try and jump up and grab an apple off of a tree that's and you because you're hungry. There's a role for that. There's roles for that, and there's effects for that, and this is the tools that they can give right now. From what I'm hearing, again, not confirmed, but from what I'm hearing, when the GM is playing, they basically can go to a player character, right click on the character, and add any status effect that they want, both official ones that the game has created. You can also get modders to add in an enormous amount of them. So, say you're in that scenario, you're hungry, you guys ran out of supplies, you come to an apple tree, and all the apples have been picked except for a handful of them near the top. Now, problem is that none of you are very good climbers. So, by climbing up to get some apples, do you risk falling and breaking your leg? And this is not something that you can have happen in an action world. I mean, this is certainly nothing that you can have happen in a world where, that it's based off of the action Asian MMO kind of RPG thing, where it's all corridor fighting. There's no real open worldness like like in a Skyrim or a Fallout or something like that, where it's just everything that you see in the game is just a fake corridor leading you to the next experience that is pushing you in a random direction. You can't climb up onto the rock. You can't jump over onto something. More Zelda-y, like not like Zelda where you can do that in the latest Zelda game, but other things. And so the GM is going to be able to right click, basically drop down a list, select what status effects that he's going to inflict you with, and now you have to deal with that infliction as you carry on through the campaign.
So as so you try to climb that tree, there's a dice roll, and he can either be like, okay, you got the apple, or nope,
yeah,
you fell, broke your leg, you're screwed.
Yeah. So these are the things that the whole design of this thing was purposely built for that. In that sense, it would be better to say that this is a Neverwinter type game, because Neverwinter 1 and 2 were like this. And they were great games. Unfortunately, the Neverwinter title is currently tied up in other licensing with the MMO and some other companies. They can't use that name. So when Wizards of the Coast decided to finally let Larian Studios have at building a new D&D experience, they casually decided to bring in not casually. Obviously they put a lot of thought into it, but the decision was ultimately to carry on with the Baldur's Gate name and theme, and less so any of the other options, because there's lots of other options. There's hundreds of D&D games and dozens of well-known names and titles. So yeah. I see you getting fidgety there with the with your desktop.
No, that was an accident. I was moving things around, and my computer was like, "Oh, you clearly you want to hide this window." No, I don't want to hide this window. Anyway,
Yeah,
there's nothing incriminating on my desktop, so at least I don't think there is. All right, but yeah, I'm gonna just look at a couple of the comments in the chat here, and then we'll start playing through this video. Warlock says, I'm a little bummed and hope they end up bringing Baldur's Gate 3 to console because it looks amazing. And says in a further comment that precisely, this is Warlock, precisely why I was so stoked. It's like an actual D&D video game. So
and this has been, I can't remember who said it, which sucks because it was one of the best comments. But when we were in a live stream a couple of months ago, when I was talking about this and when I was giving my first initial this is what I've heard on it, some people were like, "This is the holy grail of D&D games. Like this is the holy grail of the concept of actually being able to play a D&D tabletop experience with your friends right there, right then." And this is phenomenal because this means so much for what tabletopping and that D&D experience can offer you. I can't get around to playing just because of time and all the other problems. I just don't have the time to play with my brothers when they're doing campaigns and stuff like that, and it kind of sucks. They're also a little bit of ways away from me, and it's a bit of a drive. So the idea of being able to participate in a campaign is actually far more possible. The other thing that's awesome with this is that if I haven't run too many tables, my storytelling tends to get really long and uber complex and just yields a whole bunch of insanity. But if I get good at this whole GMing or DMing thing with this new title, there's a chance that we might end up doing gameplay sessions with community members on a regular basis, and that might be a ton of fun.
That would be really cool, yeah. Let's see. There's a few other comments here.
There's so much there that you can see and play with.
So Tara K sees D&D as more methodical. You can go through entire sessions without doing any combat, just role playing. So that I wonder how that kind of an element, how would they bring it in with the DM, creating dialogue? Does he just say, to
So
everybody, like, you
you
encounter
have,
this NPC and he says blah blah blah. What's your
well,
response? Like,
you can certainly do that if you're all in Discord or in a VoIP type chat system, um, and he just drops in a troll, right? He
right.
just drops in a troll. He can do that. This is sort of how it works in Divinity Original Sin 2 with its multiplayer. You have accessibility to add kind of things on the fly, but you can also pre-create a ton of different things. You can pre-create dialogue choices. You can you can get and utilize enormous modules. We talked about this a little bit on the last podcast. Modules are basically, and again, this goes all the way back to Neverwinter Nights 1. All right, this is ages ago. The modular setups was you're taking let's look up. I'm actually going to look up some modulars that they have currently for Divinity Original Sin 2 while we're talking, because I was going through this recently and there was some really great locations here. So there is a Forest Mansion. This is Forest Mansion by I want to get this name right, which is, I could have chosen something that is easier to pronounce.
Maybe for the sake of time, I would like to. For the sake of time, I think we should move on. But
yeah. So no. I just so it's a forest area which you can move the team into. They move into the forest area. There's a ton of things set up in the forest area. There's a hidden location. There's a mansion in this forest area. You can go into the mansion. There's a whole bunch of traps and different things within the mansion. And then you can add NPCs and delete NPCs as you want to. So and these are all like selectable things. So the more the GM knows about the modulars that he's playing with, so you go from this modular setting to a castle modular setting, which is a different one. So you move to the the GM basically tells you get to this point, and then he loads everybody into a different location, and then you load into that different location, then you carry on the story from there. So it's designed so that you can create a map of a small city, small town, big forest, big mine, big battlefield, whatever you want, and your team plays through the content that has been pre-created, and then the DM has the ability to add things on the fly, and or to just straight up role play via VoIP dialogue. So if the team says, no, we don't want to fight the dragon, we want to have a conversation with the dragon, and the GM's like, okay, well, all right. So he puts the dragon on passive. He gets them to roll a bunch. They manage to successfully roll. They end up actually having a pleasant conversation with the dragon. Dragon's like, you know what? I'm not going to kill you, and I'm not going to give you any of my treasure, but I do have some items that I would consider in trade if you go and give me a whole bunch of gold, because dragons need gold and treasure and stuff like that. But he's willing to trade something. So then you work out the trade. The DM can do this all on the fly. And this is how it's been created from the get-go, is to kind of create this awesome system. This has the potential for becoming one of the most modded games in history. So
well, yeah, you have infinite possibilities at that point,
Yeah.
and there are tons of people who are going to be, making all kinds of awesome campaigns. I'm sure. Like I really see this being a huge thing. So that's fantastic.
Now, that's not to say that there's moments where there's no action or where this is not an action game. And as we get into this first game, as we get into the, so they're calling it a trailer. It's the opening cutscene of the game. So this is what you see when literally it's on screen right now. You start a new game. This is what you see, and you're going to see that there is still, of course, action. There is still, of course, events where a dragon's going to fly overhead, or this tentacly ship is going to fly overhead, and it's going to attack things and people. And we're going to watch this scene here play out, and if some people had the ability to dodge out of its way, they're all making rolls essentially on like dodging or evading the attack. as you watch, most of them fail because this is a high level, super high level boss that's basically coming in and it's attacking like a bunch of like regular people.
So let's just put a pin in that. We'll you can talk more about that as we play the cutscene in a sec here. Just a couple more comments I want to get to. Game Notes says he figures people don't like watching turn-based games. That might be why some people are not thrilled about it being turn-based. Maybe, I mean, I have no comment on that. I don't mind watching turn-based personally.
I disagree on that. I think there's a whole bunch of games that have done that really well, but they've all been small and a little bit smaller on the scale of like, high. I would say that none of them are AAA games. I have seen not a single AAA turn-based game in the last like many years. The last ones that were AAA are old, very old games. Divinity Original Sin 2 is the most recent one, and that's not a AAA game. That was a AA game. It was still very small studio. They didn't have the full access of hundreds of millions of dollars, but now they do. And again, it's very similar with CDPR. They're a very small company that made an amazing AA game that blew everybody's expectations out of the water, and they got so good at what they were doing that they've then launched themselves into a new thing, and this new thing is what they've become, and it is now this new company that they've become is essentially a AAA studio, and they're now working on a first AAA experience, and we definitely see it. We definitely see it in this. So
apparently, I'm a harsh DM for breaking the dude's leg, but wasn't it Sybe that said the broken leg first? Oh well, okay. So you fall out of the tree and sprain your ankle. There, that's better. Mm-hmm. And I think that's all the comments I'll go through right now. Yeah,
lots of really good ones. Keep them coming because
absolutely. If you're watching after the fact, please put your comments below on the YouTube video. All right, I'm going to start this video here. Might take a minute to adjust the volume, so we will have the sound playing. It'll be more in the background, and we will be talking.
You can turn it up. You can turn it up for this first one bit here, but during the actual gameplay, we'll kind of bring it down a little bit.
Yeah, this is such a cool cinematic.
So we have a problem.
All right, should have maybe given a trigger warning if you're freaked out by eye stuff. But anyway, so we're on to the character creation screen. I haven't really watched this part, so what do you want to say about this, Sybe?
Okay, so we've got, first thing to note is that there is a ton of choice here. An enormous amount of choice. And this is just what they're going to have in the alpha. This is not what they're going to have at full release. This is just alpha. in the alpha, we are having access to tieflings, drow, human, githyanki, dwarf, elf, half drow, and halfling. Those are all of the choices that you have for character creation as we're going through it here. That is an enormous amount of player races, and something that we see so few and far between in modern gaming, where you like, why they don't want to create dwarves and halflings because all the resources and the time invested in making new skeletons and new morphing tools and all that kind of stuff. But these guys are diving full into this. They're giving us access to more races by a factor of like 2 or 3 times what we would get in any comparable game at all. I think in the latest Dragon Age game, we got access to like, what, 3 races? It was 3 or 4 races, tops. And that was it. That was your whole choice there. As far as classes, classes are going to be big. It's going to be huge. It's going to become more and more and more. And right now, because this is early game, your classes are actually going to be fairly limited. There's not that very many of them. You're going to get wizard, cleric, fighter, ranger, rogue, and warlock. But there's going to be far more classes added in later on down the road, and then we will get in the later end of the game, when the game is fully released, we will get access to what they've said or what they alluded to is prestige classes. You're going to want to pause it here. Is prestige classes, and we're going to get access to more prestige classes, more unique classes, and then like ultimate like class ends and that kind of thing. So right now the character creation is huge. You have a ton of, he didn't show very much of the customization, but somebody who was there said that the amount of customization that he went over when he was kind of like messing with the characters is like they've got hairstyles, they got facial rigs, they got all, you can really custom create your own character.
Yeah, they didn't really show the visual customization options here, but
it's there, and
they have these.
And it's,
yeah, well, it changed. Now the visual changed with each origin story that he's picking here, but after you pick that, then can you customize the look of your character? Like, does it come after
Yes.
that step? Then okay.
Yeah. There's far more customization now. Typically, what they like to do is they don't like you to tweak their they don't want you to tweak their origin story characters. The origin story characters is not something you tweak, because you're playing an actual character, and there's actual like descriptive text within the game. At first, I was kind of annoyed when I was playing through Divinity Original Sin, where it was like, why can't I customize these origin characters very much? Why is it more limited in this? And the short answer for that was because it's actually like part of the story is like their story actually is like that's an actual character. You don't have to play an origin character. And if you don't play an origin character, that character becomes available for you to play and recruit within the game. So what we're seeing right now is this is a half elf or elf type character. He is a vampire slave. So he's a slave to a master vampire. He's a fledgling type. He has very little power. He's always been under the thumb of his master, and he can't really do anything. Has to obey high elf. Sorry, not a half elf. And that's his story. If you want to play that kind of a character, great. This is available to you, but you can't change his sex. You can't change. You can't really change very much about him.
He's a set character, but you can.
Yeah, but
if
you don't pick him, then he shows up in the game.
Yeah, well, we see that
is a brilliant
one of
idea.
we're going to see one of the characters that we saw here in the creator is going to show up in the gameplay in just a few minutes here.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So all of the origin characters are potential companions. So I liken this to like Mass Effect. Instead of playing as Commander Shepard, you also have the ability to play as any of his normal companion characters. You want to play as Ashley, you play as Ashley. You want to play as the Asari, as the Krogan, whatever. They're all available to you to play with as companions or to play as the main story. So that's kind of the main difference there. I like this system. I understand there's some people who are a little annoyed with it, but this is an entirely optional thing. Like, this is, you don't have to recruit these people if you don't want to. If you're like, oh, this guy is so moody. I don't want to. Oh no, I don't want him. You don't have to recruit him, and he may come in later in the story as a character that you turn down. But at no point, are you forced into a small little hole, right? You're not put into a box.
Options.
If you want to play as a unique vampire female orc, not orc, sorry, female Githyanki, that's what the orc type characters are, sort of. They're yeah. If you want to play as a Githyanki vampire, that is available to you. If you like his concept, but you want to do it your own way, do that.
Right.
My first character in Divinity Original Sin was very much like one of the main characters, but different in a couple of ways, because I liked the character, but I wanted to do my own take on it. And it turned out that me and this other character were like best of buds almost immediately because we were so identical. And I found that really interesting because you don't get that in other gameplay. So this is an exciting feature.
Well, and this is good for people who don't enjoy spending hours on character creation.
Mm-hmm.
I fall into that category.
You want something that's unique, yeah. So the other thing that's cool is you can you have backgrounds as well, and there's going to be more options and stuff like this going forward. But the background is unique. So if you want to play a noble, you have it here on the background. If you want to play a noble or somebody who's like, oh hoity-toity, you can do that. If you want to play a barbarian, thief type or like from the gutter rag, you could do that too. If you want to then experiment with how, that type of character and personality reacts to all the characters around you, totally available. And
so
again,
can pick this character. So you can even pick the background of your, even of one of these set characters. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you can change the background of the set characters, but you can change all of these options within your custom character.
Okay, I'm just looking at what's on the screen here, and you can pick the origin, which is your character, but then they have the background setting, or maybe that's only that one option.
This is locked for this particular character. I'm pretty sure it's locked.
Okay, that makes sense, though, actually.
Yeah.
I just realized there's only the one diamond there, so maybe you cannot switch to any other options. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, very cool. Sounds like it's a very robust system, and you can play as a preset, or you can make your own thing. All right. So, moving on here to the second part of the opening cinematic. All right, when does it start here?
Just use the arrow keys to move around instead of
it jumps like 10 seconds with this program. Okay, I'm going to turn up the volume here a little bit. So, there's all these... Whoops, let me get that off the screen. There's all these dead mind flares lying around. That's one thing I noticed.
Mm-hmm. And I want to comment on this later on, but this is so cool.
Oh yeah, this is... When I realized they were on this flying thing, I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. Aside from the fact, is time being here? This is probably your favorite part. Tentacle monster spaceship.
Dude never had a chance.
Okay, and this is the... And then I thought it couldn't get any cooler, and then these dragons come flying out to fight this thing. It's like, dude, this should be a movie or something.
Mm-hmm. So awesome. It's, like, I really like what's going on here, and after this is done, I'll explain it.
That made me laugh. I don't know why, but he just goes, thunk, plucks the thing like a guitar string and it teleports his ship. Very cool.
Oh yeah. This is like the crowd was going nuts. So let me explain some of the bits of the story here that you may not have noticed right off from the get-go. So the Githyanki is these like kind of like orky type people that we've been seeing here, the Dragon Riders. They used to be slaves of the Mind Flayers, and they turned on them and have basically been trying to hunt them into extinction. Not only that, I believe what we're also seeing is we're seeing a disease or something that is affecting Mind Flayers that are slowly killing them off one by one. So you might want to pause it here. And I think part of the story is going to revolve around, these Mind Flayers trying to bring back their numbers. They're trying to take over. They've been pushed into a bit of a corner for a long time in the lore. Mind Flayers have just kind of like been off taking care of their own kind of thing. Now I think due to the fact that their numbers are starting to get lower and lower, I think they get desperate, and I think they start to overreact, and or there's different factions involved in them. You can see almost a kind of like a sadness in this one Mind Flayer as he's walking through his ship and he's looking at the dead, and he's he cares about these little creature thingies that are, they burrow into your brain and then they slowly like take over your body, and then you suddenly turn into a Mind Flayer and it burns out your soul at the same time, so it destroys you and it replaces you with a new entity, and this is how they reproduce. And I suspect that he doesn't necessarily like that, but he's doing it so that his people can survive. And maybe he's trying to come up with a way to like figure out a way to do it differently.
If this game makes me feel bad for Mind Flayers, then that's
right.
That's going to be some epically good storytelling. Mind Flayers, man. Oh.
Yeah, they're. I mean,
they were the bane of my existence in Baldur's Gate 2. Of course, I had no idea what I was doing when I was playing that game. I was pretty young, and I look back at some of the way I tried to play that game. I was like, I had no idea how D&D or RPGs really worked at all. And so I look back and laugh, but yeah, Mind Flayers freaked me out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you was there more about that?
Mind Flayers Lives Matter. This is
oh my goodness.
Might be tempted to turn this into a shirt or something like that.
That's hilarious. We could get in trouble, but that is hilarious. All right. So you wake up now in the wilderness. So you have So this is you. So you
whatever,
were on that
whatever,
ship thing, right?
Yeah, so you were the character when he moved towards you and you put the mind flare thingy in your eye. That's who you were. I think the I don't know if you're actually going to be able to play as the Githyanki girl, but yeah, I don't know. We'll kind of hold off on that. But now you have so the first thing I want to point out here is you have two camera options. You got an isometric camera option. You also have a third person camera option. We
Okay,
don't
yep.
know yet if you can steer your character with your keyboard keys, or if that's an option. It wasn't really an option in Divinity, so we don't know if they've managed to tie up the engine a little bit to kind of like make it a little bit better. But yeah, this is this is something that we will see here how they kind of work with this. I really do like steering my character with the keyboard controls, but again, this is very minor. This is not very this is very minor like
Yeah.
complaints. You know,
Third
as far
person,
as
I
far as
actually
the game
prefer
goes.
using a gamepad, but yeah, like mouse, I'd probably play this point and click like this. Here's our other character that was in the character creator that we saw.
Yeah. So yeah, you could play as this girl as well. There were some people complaining about like why does everybody look so ugly, and I don't know. I think maybe it's just their outfits. I mean the character models are for the most part kind of okay.
They don't
There's
look
definitely
ugly to
something
me. I
weird.
mean,
There's something weird with her chin going on here, but again, that's a stylistic choice. I think. She's got great eyeshadow. You know, for an elf, she's got a really great nose, and just I don't see what people were complaining about. But
sorry, this reminds me of the other day in the Discord. I made a joke about how we're switching to doing makeup tutorial videos. That's she's got the greatest eyeshadow. Yeah, makeup tutorial and video game characters. There's your new series, Sib. All right, so you and her both have those mind flare larvae or whatever in your heads, and so
and look at the dialogue choices.
now the dialogue. This is interesting. It is, it's in like past tense, first person. So it's like you're telling the story to somebody. It's like what did you do next? I said this. I said that. As opposed to, you know, in a lot of games it's like say this, do that.
Yeah,
It's saying I did this, I did that. I that's a really interesting twist. Yeah.
So this is something that I feel is better for gameplay and story overall, especially for live streaming, because the ability to like comment on this as far as live streaming goes is quite handy. So
Now we see the contextual options based on your class, based on your race and background and stuff like that.
yep,
So we
and
see
you're gonna
lots
have
and lots
that.
of those.
So there's also going to be we saw the noble choice there, right? The noble background. That's also going to become part and parcel in this as well. So you're also going to have the ability to be like, you know, say something because you're a noble, or say something different because you're from a slummy kind of background or a barbarian kind of background. Those are going to have effects and plays in this as well, as well as just having a myriad of choices that is you know, directing it as like this first person kind of looking back on the situation like I bound.
Tarika
It's very unique.
Yeah, I do like that. And Tarika's comment here, they're only complaining because she's not half naked. Yeah, that's probably true.
I like, she's got really expressive eyebrows. I really like the general look. I don't like, again, they have had issues with character before, and there's a lot of mods, as there normally is.
Yeah.
There's a ton of mods to fix the facial issues that people run into with this. So I wouldn't worry about this, because again, if you remember Skyrim, those characters, vanilla Skyrim characters, are butt ugly.
You know,
like,
it's
butt
really a couple things to keep in mind. First of all, this is alpha. This is alpha footage we're seeing. Secondly, it's really, really difficult to do good faces in CG, especially if they have to be expressive and like really dynamic for a variety of situations. I think it looks pretty good. Not the best I've seen, but it's decent. All right.
So I like
So we're
the
seeing combat here, yeah.
When you get into the combat, excuse me, the first thing that you're going to notice is that it tells you what level bracket the characters are. So what difficulty rating, not level bracket, but difficulty rating you're going to encounter here with these characters. And they were the party was at a 19.
He just missed a 90% shot.
Were at an 18. This is a problem that's in the engine. They have addressed that they know that this is an issue and that they're working on it. But the like the 90, when you have 90 and 95 to 100% rating on some of this stuff, you'll miss like 50% of the time. It's a calculation error bug that is kind of known for being in their engine. It's something that apparently they're working on trying to fix. So yeah,
okay.
they don't. It's really kind of weird. He misses a lot. He's he's extremely unlucky.
Yeah,
throughout the course of this mission.
Now I love this. I love the verticality. They're climbing up on stuff. And this is I'm guessing this is a chunk of the ship that got destroyed.
Yeah,
something like that.
So they're in the broken ship that's been burnt with dragon fire.
And things following. All right.
So
all right.
how the creatures move around, how they try and position themselves, the fact that they try to like get out of dodge when they have the ability to get out of dodge, they will try. Now he's gonna fail this one, so cool. I don't know if he. Yeah.
She knocked him off the edge there.
Yep, pushing, shoving enemies, high ground tactics. I always wondered why I can't throw somebody off the top of a building when we're fighting on the top of a building. Now you can, and it does a lot of damage. And it does like the higher up you are, the more damage it does, and it gets really, really bad. And he's got so much bad luck on this particular mission.
Game notes is saying I can picture the Ash dumb playthrough now. Yeah, maybe maybe I'll do that. Just keep up the series once I'm done with whenever this comes out. But that's what I'm doing with the Outer Worlds right now. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So not enough space. So okay. So this is a pretty simple combat scenario here, but this is really cool that it is. What was that he just did? Some kind of a flying leap.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of abilities that your class has, as well as like, as well as your race, as well as your certain powers from like the background companion stories and that kind of stuff, the origin stories. All of that stuff plays into and has an effect, and just boop, there he goes, throws the enemy significant distance down.
That's right, Tarika. Always make sure you have an extra pair of boots with you to throw.
Yeah.
Throw at the enemies.
He literally threw his boots at these characters. This is all just so brilliant. It's mind-boggling how brilliant this is.
Mm-hmm. And this really takes me like this really reminds me of playing Baldur's Gate 2.
Mm-hmm. This reminds me more of playing Neverwinter Nights, but yeah,
Neverwinter Nights was more like this.
Mm-hmm.
I never really got into Neverwinter as much, though. Now that thing. So, did that brain creature just jump up on top there, so that it could leap down on her? Is that what the AI is doing?
Yeah. Yes, you can leap down onto. So later on, we're gonna see him. There's a half. We'll talk about it when we get there. But you can leap onto enemies and cause them damage as well. You can also leap onto enemies with your weapons drawn, which is going to do like even more damage. And so high ground, as in real life, in this game, high ground is incredibly important. It's not just a damage bonus like it was in Divinity. It actually is going to give you the ability to do things that are unique.
Yeah, but it's just impressive that then the AI makes use of that. It's like, oh, there's an elevated place nearby. Next turn, I can jump down, do extra damage. It's really cool that it's smart enough to do those kinds of things. And he missed again. I was like,
Yeah.
is it going to get a chance to do its jumping attack? But it
Yeah, he's
looks like it's not.
in the audio. He's really panicking. He's like, "Oh no!" Because the right now the save and load program systems were completely broken.
Oh,
So yeah, so if he dies here, he can't load it. If he dies here, and he actually does. So this is kind of funny here. Um, I like the down system that they have currently. So when a character goes down, they roll a dice every round, and if they can roll 3 good dice, then they can get back up with like 1 hit point remaining. But if you do their hit points and damage to them once they've been downed, then they're dead. And again, they have hard rules and they have light rules, and the hard rules will probably end up taking this to the point where, yeah, if you're playing hardcore rules, you see how that one brain dude's hiding from the archer, and he actually like it actually jumped down to hide around the corner so that it couldn't get attacked very easily because they're mobile, so they're using that
yeah,
mobility to help them. And there he knocks her down, and now you've got a limited amount of time for them to get back up, or unless the enemies like kind of just move on, then she has the chance of getting back up again. But if they just sit there and attack her, and they do her hit points and damage to her again, then they'll kill her, and then again, if you have if you're playing on the hardcore rules, that character's dead, dead, dead. So
dead.
yeah,
Unless you have like a resurrect spell, I'm guessing.
yeah. Same kind of rules as like you can resurrect people, you can like permanently kill them, you can do a whole bunch of different stuff to the characters. Um, and as he's playing a vampire in this, their last how he was going to finish out the demo, which they never did finish it, but he was going to have the choice in one of their camp sessions. Which camping, we have to talk about that because that's just brilliant in this too. In the camping sessions, he has critical miss. Yeah, it's just like, oh my goodness, why does he get such bad luck? And he's like, oh no, I don't know what to do. It's like, I'm gonna run away. I have no potions left,
Oh,
and
so he
now
got
he's dead.
defeated.
Yeah. So now he replays this, but he enters combat slightly different. This one he just kind of ran in and didn't really um, he didn't really do the smart combat. He thought she might get up here, but um, it's having some issues. It's being a little wonky, and then she's down. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
so
Should I
and
skip
now
ahead here?
you could skip ahead. Yeah. I would skip ahead until they come to this encounter again here, which is like
Right, because they kind of
5, 10,
he goes through
10.
this again.
So he
This
goes through the
conversation.
conversation again.
Oh,
We get a little bit
I
better
went too
look at
far. Here, let's see.
hearing. Yeah, you back up, back up, back up, back up. Okay, so now he's going to enter this combat scenario, being more tactful and utilizing the ground in the area to his advantage. So here there's a fire going. He puts his bow in. He gets a flaming arrow, which is amazing that you can do this. As long as you got a source of fire, you can make you can enhance your weapon with elemental effects quite easily. They're still tweaking on exactly how this works and the power balancing.
Yeah.
But he's also able to, before combat starts, he's able to start the turn-based system so that you're running off of the turn-based system ahead of time. So you now see the red lines there. That's where their vision is. So he can like sneak around. So he sneaks up. He realizes that they're sitting next to a flammable explosive container. He's got a fire arrow. He's got a fire bow. So he's going to be able to do some enormous amount of damage here just off of like the get-go, by using a very strategic setup instead of just having what they did last time, which is they just ran in there and just started the conflict. Now he's actually taking the time to like, all right, let's be strong here, and boom, takes out
Yeah.
the units right from the get-go.
So Robin's wondering, are we talking permadeath? Depends on sounds like
Depends on
the option you
difficulty
pick,
setting.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
of course, permadeath. I mean, as in, death is as permanent as it is in the D&D universe. I mean, there are ways of resurrecting people. In Baldur's Gate 2, I remember one situation because it's emblazoned on my brain because I was having literal, like, an emotional panic reaction because I was stuck in the middle of this dungeon, and there was this ridiculously tough fight that I finally beat this one fight, but like 4 of my party were dead. But my one mage was alive who had a resurrect spell. So then the next few minutes were sleep for 8 hours, resurrect one character, sleep for another 8 hours, resurrect another character. Oh, some other enemies spawned in, kill them, sleep more, resurrect, sleep more. Finally got everybody back alive again, and then saved it. But it just goes to show how little I knew what I was actually doing in that game. Still had a ton of fun with it.
So now he's managed to deal with the conflict much faster, much better this time because he wasn't trying to show off or create any like fancy scenarios. The there's the loot system in the game is like kind of it's not full body loot, but it's kind of close. You typically will always have the chance to loot whatever weapons they're holding. Armor, not as much. And again, this is a hotly debated thing. But there are mods that will come in that will add full loot tables to things. Your game is just going to get a lot more boggy a lot quicker. So
Yeah.
just bear that in mind. But then here we have this other beautiful, beautiful thing with the game. Some people feel this is tacky. I don't. I think this is actually smart. I've always wanted to build things with like I can't get to that second floor, but there's a couple of boxes here that if I was in the game, I could do that. And
Huh.
again, mods will come and make it so that you will get the ability to tweak how heavy are they, how much can you move them, how much strength does it take to move
Now,
stuff.
he attacked his companion on accident there.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's always been an option because sometimes there's some cases where that's actually preferable. Where you need to if somebody's been stunned or sleeped or put under a sleep, it's like walk up to them and slap them, or slap them lightly, or try not to kill them, but like you know, get them so that they're not doing stupid stuff, or get them out of the status effects. It's like that can happen. And just again, they have non-aggressive wildlife. That's pretty cool. Um, the Now some characters, she's got this kind of cool leap thing that she can do, whereas not every character is going to have this ability. And if you don't team up with her and you don't have her capable of doing this, then you're not going to find this beautiful little like hidden surprise here with her search skill. She discovers something, so a good search skill is going to be pretty handy. So she's going to use good old strength and just pick up a rock, and then oh look, goodies. So
Awesome.
they've designed these maps so that when you play through it, you will never find everything in one go, unless you're using a mod that gives you either access to all abilities or allows you to recruit,
Right, of
all
course, but within the
companions.
basic rules of the game,
Yeah,
you're not
but
gonna.
within the basic rules, you're not going to have somebody who can break down a door, pick a lock, be able to spy through a magical enhanced hiding spell, uh, pick up on some field thing that you've encountered, all in one character. I mean, you might be able to make a character that could pick up on a lot of that kind of stuff, but not everything. Then you're going to encounter like some magical effects and or some puzzle effects, and your characters are going to be limited as to what they can or cannot do based on what you can or cannot do with your character abilities. And
So
I
there's
think this is I think
Yeah.
this is cool because that means replay in this is smart and is good. The camp system. This camp system is brilliant. When you make camp, you actually have this camp, and you have the ability to like sit down and chat with your companions, make friends, do decisions. And if you're a vampire trying to hide the fact that you're a vampire, this is also going to become your prime feeding time. because they talked about this. They didn't cover it in the gameplay, but they talked about this, and there was a in the press demo that they put out. There were a lot of people commented on this where he got here and he's like, I want to suck her blood. I need blood. So he sucks her blood, and then he manages to, like, hide the marks, and she doesn't realize that she was fed on, and he wakes up with an attack bonus. But each time he's got to be rolling to make sure that she doesn't wake up or sense that this is what he's doing this to her, and you could potentially, like, kill, or you can convert your companions. So you can start the game and then slowly turn your entire campaign, your entire, like, group into an army of vampire thralls. And again, the fact that you can do this is pretty darn awesome in every way, shape, and form. This is just so darn cool. It's really awesome. And again, you have so much, like, self monologue choices to kind of go through. Some characters more than others, but hey, it's pretty cool.
Very cool. Now, how far apart can your characters get from one another, do you think? Like,
If it's like how they've had it before in the previous games, as far as whatever map you're currently loaded into.
this is interesting here. So he's doing a roll check to imagine something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does this affect the gameplay? Like, how does this affect?
Because
does it give him a?
Yeah,
go ahead.
This is his when you're playing the origin stories, your character is dealing with the issues that the character has. And those issues, and there's going to be some that are going to be available in the backstory character, the origin stories, the normal, like, background stories that you pick for your custom characters. All of these options are prevalent within the game. So you're going to have these character personality difficulties that the character is getting over, and then you use roles to kind of advance your capability. So during this phase here with this vampire, you might want to pause it here. During this vampire playthrough, what we're seeing is he has this master that he is enthralled to, and the little bug in his head, or the little worm in his head, is giving him the ability to fight back against his master at the same time that this thing is about to kill him. So as he progresses, as you progress through the story, you and do those roles, the more you develop the ability to resist your master, and every time you make a successful roll, every time you get better, when you ultimately confront your master, depending on how well you've done fighting against him, is how well you're going to be able to resist him when he's like, "Oh, slave, I see your back. Bow before me." And it's like, those are the options that you're making to progress that unique character perspective. The Zithianki girl is going to be an issue for her, because she's among these people who've sworn to kill off all mind flayers, and now she's going to become a mind flayer if she doesn't get help. So the thing for her is that, well, she can't go to her people for help, because their solution to finding out that you're infected, they have a real quick solution for fixing that problem, and that's just to kill you, because you can't turn into a mind flayer if you're dead. So they kill you as soon as they discover that you have a worm in your head. They're going to kill you. So she can't go back to her own people, because they will kill her on sight, and they know that she's infected. So she's got to struggle with this as she's going through. So her camp scenes are going to be a little bit different, I think, too. So oh, did I say Zithianki? Oh dear. I meant Githyanki. Ugh. I feel like an idiot now. So yeah, this is yeah.
All right. So what do we got coming up next here?
So we've got an introduction to another new character. This is going to be an interesting one. He's another origin character. Apparently he fused his body with a spell book. he was all like, "Hey, I need to learn how to like memorize more spells. So I'm going to do the smart thing and I'm going to fuse a spell book into my body so that I'm capable of like doing all these additional spells. Only problem is that he's eventually going to explode. So he not only has a worm inside of his head, but he's also potentially going to explode. I don't know if yeah. Um so that's the thing with his character. So his background's kind of like great. There's another character he was a demon hunter, but then he got kind of caught and he made a deal with the demon. Now he needs to like renege on the deal in order to like free himself from it. So there's lots of like these origin characters have very interesting characteristics about them. They have very interesting stories and they're all trying to like get past something, which is I mean kind of what you need. If you didn't have a character that wasn't trying to get past something, then you know we wouldn't have a very interesting game. So yeah, so there's some back and forth. Again, great conversations here. Um, Great back and forth. I love the dialogue. This guy is going to be hella fun to run with in your character story.
Not only did I recall it, I said I was already
So we
enjoying
can-
its effects, referring to the fact that I can walk in the sunlight.
Interesting. Are you aware that after a period of
Going really
excruciating
slow on the
gestation, it can
dialogue.
turn us into
You can probably turn
mind
up the audio
flayers?
for this one.
A process known as ceremorphosis? It is to be avoided. I assume you're no
Yep.
accomplished healer either. Powerful cleric, maybe?
It is to be avoided.
Okay, was this a conversation or an interrogation?
Just trying to figure out where we stand. Conclusion? Nowhere. You and I are in a whole lot of trouble. We need help, and I'm not sure where we'll find it in this wilderness. How about we embark on the quest for a healer together?
Yes, I need a wizard. A wizard is going to be very
Most
good.
excellent. Then, without further ado, let's be off. Besides, looks like you keep some interesting company. A woman with shadows for eyes, deep as the dark lake. Pleasure, madam.
Is it indeed? We'll see.
Right. Get along smashingly.
So yeah, love the dialogue between the characters. Love the direction that they're going with. This really is, again, this is really ramping up where we want these characters, where we wanted the experiences to be with Dragon Age, that and Anthem and all this stuff that BioWare, you know, this is the game that BioWare should have been making. This is and from what I've heard, this is the game that they've wanted to make for a while, but EA kept saying, no, we need more action. We need more action gameplay. You know, Dragon Age 2 was a considerable step down as far as like action-oriented gameplay goes. And it's really kind of sad to see that go. So here we have this encounter with these with the pack of like treasure hunters, or like I don't know what you want to call it. Stealth is amazing in this game. When you're in the light, it's easy to see you. When you're in shadows, it gets the more shadows that you're in, the darker that you're in,
Yep.
the easier it is for you to hide.
So the time of
And-
day could affect your strategy in any
Oh,
given
yeah.
encounter.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining the shadows are going to move with the time.
I don't know about that for sure, because it doesn't in Divinity. It didn't. There's no day cycle system in Divinity, so I'm really curious to see how this kind of plays into
I'll be
the story here.
Yeah, I'll be disappointed if there's no day-night cycle. That would be. I think there was one in number 2. I'm not
No.
100% sure.
Not that I like.
Well, I know
There
there
are
were times
places-
when it was nighttime, and there were times when it was daytime.
Yes, they have that in this game, but it's not exactly the same. So here, this is the top of the building that she was trying to get into. So this is again, I really like where they're going with this. The maps are huge. They're multi-layered. All kinds of like cool little setups and stuff as far as I never saw him run or do that giant jump before, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, it's like just this like complex way of going about stuff is pretty darn cool to me. He goes up here. I'm pretty sure that this will get an M rating just because of like the blood and fighting and stuff like that and the role play. I don't. It might be
It
able to
hasn't
get
been
it below
too like
M rating.
it hasn't been too graphic thus far. I mean, aside from
Yeah.
even the opening cinema, even when the thing goes into the person's eye, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that disgusting. Like it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't what I was originally expecting when I started watching that scene. I was expecting some a gruesome shot, but then the thing just kind of slides in around the eye, and it's like, okay, not not as bad as I was expecting. So there's been blood, but yeah, I don't know. So far, this doesn't seem above a teen rating, but I mean, they're not showing everything either, so
Yeah.
who knows?
No, they do have good shadow, and they do have a really good shadowing system. You can see from the conversation systems here that there is a lot of like good shadow stuff in the game, so that's kind of that's a good sign. Um, and I like this here how they've set this up. They've got the vampire up on the ledge, prepared to attack if they fail this this attempt at trying to persuade him. So they fail, which means it's going to turn into a fight. But they prepared for it by having their teammates sneak up and get ready to attack.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So now now you're in this you're in this attack, and what happens is I think this is where okay. So he goes up here. He's been sitting in the shadows this whole time.
He just shoves
Now
him
he's
off.
gonna shove him off, and well, he was standing on a box. What can we do with that box? Oh, I know. We could probably just shove that box off onto the guy who fell. So we'll see that in a second here because it's really awesome. Um, you can also do things. Again, it's not everything here, but there is more and more and more abilities to change like the environment to use like big objects to attack other people with, and we'll see that eventually here. It's in a little bit, but it's pretty cool too. Yeah, the Githyanki look pretty darn cool. I agree.
Yeah, so so Robin says that's why the day to night cycle needs to be there, so characters can get romantic after the sun goes down. It's not exactly.
That's what the camp system. That's what the camp system is for,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure.
But also, I mean, beyond that, there's status effects for vampires and things like that I'd like to see,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, yeah, just a variety of things with the day. I hope there's a full day night cycle, even if they're not showing. Like, I hope that's in the completed game. Also, dynamic weather. Like those seem like two staples of like fantasy RPG game. What is he doing? Up the ladder, down the ladder, up the ladder, down the ladder.
I don't know, but this is where he's like, all right, here's an idea. You can turn on the volume for this.
Jump on them also.
And
Press
plop.
them So with the warrior with feather fall, you could, for instance, combine that and then jump on somebody. That can hurt. However, this was actually really. But it was just a throw. I can still shoot. I need to make this hit because otherwise Shadowheart is going to be in trouble. Doesn't have to be a pin down. 75% chance. Oh, that's. Okay, good.
So he's
that means that
if you're wondering why he's so bad at playing his game, it's because they forgot one thing when they were coming to New York. Is they brought an American style keyboard versus his I think they're Swedish. I think they're Swedish. Oh, I'm gonna kick myself if that's not true. But Larian Studios is a European developer, and he wasn't familiar with the keyboard, and so there was a bunch of buttons and keys that he was like checking around for because he wasn't certain if he was using the which buttons do what. So there's lots like him pressing the wrong button, opening a different window, or doing a different thing. It's like, no, not that button, this other button. So it speaks to the reminder where it's like people need to remember to bring that stuff.
Too bad that takedown had a bad camera angle
obstructed.
There. But
and again, these are things that'll be fixed in the
well,
alpha.
yeah. Considering this is alpha gameplay, and I'll just remind everybody this is alpha footage, alpha gameplay.
He
footage.
mentioned and he mentioned several times that they are having issues with the camera, and that it's in the process of being fixed. Most likely, by the time that we see this come to early access, we will not see very many. We'll see a majority of these camera issues fixed. It is very tricky because you're combining this like third person / like isometric, and there's tons of like stuff in the way, and so it can get a little tricky from time to time. And they're not the first game to have to deal with this, but most games find a way to get around it. Usually by the time that they hit the beta and by the time they hit release, when they're doing these staggered things, because any problem that you see is going to be announced, notified, directed, and pointed at constantly by the players, and then the player base is eventually going to say, hey, we need to fix this, and then the devs are going to be like, oh right, okay, yeah, let's fix this. So yeah.
It's not dead yet. Ow. Pity that they can't. Well.
Again with the camera. Yeah, that's too bad. But that's one thing that I'm sure they'll fix that in the final game.
Okay. Now we need to
Make sure you can actually see the character.
Yeah. And again, I mean, he for the most part, he like failing the role. There was also something that he could have done like early on to kill 2 of the enemies like right off from the get-go, but he chose not to because again he wanted to like drag out the combat to show the combat thing. Again, most people who are playing this like it's just like any kind of like type of game where it's like, yeah, obviously you could like just
telling me to run away, right?
Slaughter people. Oh, and this is something else I should mention. So they do have magic pockets. However, magic pockets is an option, just like it was in Divinity. I think it's in Divinity, where you can turn that off if you want. If you find that lore breaking or something that you don't like, you can turn it off. And if they don't add that as a feature, I'm sure that there will be a mod for it at some point as well. So it's like, if you want them to physically like trade items, then yeah, physically trade the items.
Good work.
Terror Case is it's deliberate, like one of those stories told from the wall's point of view. Yeah, right.
Well, let's first see which direction they're going to go. Actually, because I can go back. He's not going to make it.
It's funny.
She'll still make it. If I can get close to her and give her a helping hand, so it's going to be up again. Where are you? You're there, right? What I don't want to do is get too close to you. But then I can get back here, actually.
So it's the same with the enemies. They're downed, but they're not necessarily dead right off the bat.
Far shot with a 75% chance.
Is that what we're seeing here? Or no?
Yeah.
Wait.
always missing, always missing.
No, actually,
I feel so bad for him.
dagger. Makes a bit more sense. Yeah, before, I mean, actually, those things help. Just trying to party, build my...
Me, I'm kind of like a stylistic fighter. Like when I'm doing these, I want to have like this. Oh yes, this super slick like, combat. You know, just
We'll get
really
there.
watching
Might be
everything
hard
like
work,
come
though.
to like
Actually, but what I
set
can
it up
do-
and then just
No, I
perfectly
keep
execute it.
on forgetting this.
Hit hard, hit fast, hit quickly.
Alright.
And
okay.
here he's constantly like he's wanting to like, oh no, I want to show you this cool feature and then show you this cool feature, and again the fact that you could take anything that's in your inventory and use it as a throwing item, really good. And he just always like his missing here is just insane.
Why did he get 2 shots
But see
anyway?
how the guy runs out,
Potion himself.
he does damage, he attacks, and then he takes cover again.
So the AI
This is
thinks-
something that
looks at everything
you'd
that it
actually do, and how the AI is actually going after the injured party members. And yeah, Shadow is now like down. She's down for the count.
Alright, so out of combat.
Well, like,
that's
she's
it.
dead.
Oh, she's really dead?
Mm-hmm.
She's dead.
Oh, that's
Yeah, he's alive. That's,
Right, she's not going to get up.
I guess.
Now, again, it depends on the difficulty that you're choosing. You're going to have an option to play with this like kind of like permanent thing, or she's just down until they can make a camp for the night. Because you know, a good night's sleep will fix any problem that you have, milady. Doesn't matter. You got your head cut off. Oh, that's fine. We'll just roll you up into a little bundle. You get a good night's sleep, and it'll be fixed. So
she's still in the party though. Like even though she's dead, she's in the party.
Yeah, in this option, this is the once they camp, then she'll
She'll be
She'll
alive
wake
again.
up.
Okay, yeah.
yeah. So that's the mechanic that he's currently running with. But again, there is options for for the different choices of like, oh no, I'm choosing to do this a different way. And yes, Terra, I love doing the voices. It's all good. Like all the loot. Every time I see that, I'm like, no, loot everything, loot everything.
Doesn't make for a good demonstration. Yeah, I wonder how much
Yeah.
of
Now he
streamable-
just killed all of these characters, and now he's gonna go up to the door, and he's gonna be like, pretend to be, oh yes, I was the other fellow, and I'm your boss. Open up the door, and he rolls, and does he get a good roll this one? Yes, he does. Success.
Nice.
So, oh, all right, boss. Hang on, I'll find the key. I'll open the door. And he goes through. Wait, you're not the boss. And then he goes into an immediate fight. So, but now he's in darkness, and this is where the vampire is gonna. This particular vampire build is gonna excel here. So, he also starts to play a little bit more seriously too. So, yeah, and he has surprise, like a double surprise bonus because that was because of the conversation. He basically ambushed the guy. So if they had forced their way in, this guy obviously would have had a chance to go for reinforcements. But because the dude was totally caught flat-footed, he's at a major disadvantage. So in this case, the vampire roguey dude gets a significant upper hand here. So he manages to make off with, again, no loot aside from a key. I'm screaming inside. I'm like, pick up the loot! At
Well, that's
least
why
the stuff that's valuable.
Like I would. Oh, that was interesting. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever popped up there with the labels on all the
So,
things you can pick up.
You might have noticed there he pressed, I think it's the Alt button in this game, and every item that was available to be picked up showed up on screen. And you saw that the table was full of food, plates, cups, cutlery.
I love
pick up
that
all
because I
that
mean
stuff,
it's a
put it
pain in the
into a
butt to
giant
go
bag.
looking around in every nook and cranny to find stuff. So yeah.
So here he's killing the lights, so that he can sneak around more effectively, and he's hiding in like the really deep darkness bits.
Yeah.
And brilliant. So as one of the other YouTubers that I watched mentioned, he's like, "Oh my god, I didn't realize that they were remaking Baldur's Gate at the same time they were also remaking Thief. Oh my goodness, amazing!" Thief game. You like the Thief games, right?
Yeah. No, I get it. Was I supposed to laugh at that?
Yeah, you were supposed to laugh at the joke. It was a very funny joke that I stole from somebody else. I can't even remember who I picked it up from, but I thought it was really funny that I've watched so many views on this and videos on this stuff. And it's like it's right. It's like they literally made the they've remade the Thief game essentially.
So I would like, this seems like a game that would be a lot of fun to stream and do videos of, but it, yeah, I worry about the just, you spend a lot of time playing an RPG like this, doing looting, managing inventory, stuff like that.
Right, and well, I mean, it's on you to find the best way to come up with a solution for this, right? Because again, this is something that I think it works here for what they're doing.
But yeah, this would be such a cool thing because you'll have such a, you can watch somebody else play this and they'll have a completely different experience than.
Yeah,
what
going
you
in
did.
as like a bunch of barbarians versus like a bunch of rogues versus a bunch of wizards versus a mixed party versus a specific kind of like build, lots of area effects. And they did mention again they realized that they overdid the effects and the explosions in the last game in Divinity 2. So they have downscaled the amount of craziness that's going on, and they're still working to kind of tweak it out a little bit better. But again, overall, it's like I like what they're doing with this. I really like what they're doing with this. Yeah, top down or third person Skyrim. It's interesting. And again, they're like killing the lights so that he can like open up the door without alerting the dude.
But do the dudes get alerted by the fact that the lights are just randomly going out?
I think the AI is like a little bit. It's one of those things where it's like I don't know. And again, I think modders can play with it significantly.
Yeah. That was one thing that was cool about the Thief games is you do anything. You grab, you grab a cup off at the table or turn the light out, and the next time the guard passed by, they would notice that and get a little more suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that that would be quite an extensive, that would be a lot to program into a game like this.
No, I like that the treasure chest has a little bit of light on it that he can't cover up, so he's waiting for the appropriate time.
Charles Miller says, I think playing this without save states makes it more watchable, knowing that everything that happens, and there isn't any going back. Yeah.
Yeah, and they do have an Iron Man mode in D2 where if you're playing the game and you do Iron Man mode, if your party wipes and everybody dies, it deletes your save game and you have to start over from scratch. So I like this as a concept. I'm like, ooh, this is very tempting. Interesting. You know, there's so that means, yeah, like interesting. I like the concept. And so yeah, he did this. He went in, he looted the thing, and then he got in and out, and the dude never realized that he was there. So I like that. I really like that idea. I like that sense of logic. As far as the game is able to, like, as far as what they can do with this, I think is really cool. So here we have a trap room.
There's dangerous things here. There's skeletons lying on the floor, and then there's things that are popping up. Then I have perception checks that are succeeding, that are failing.
Now this is one of the.
This is the room we
yeah.
talked about on the last podcast with the skeletons, right?
No. This
Nope.
this is a fire trap room. So when he activates this trap, he's gonna pick up some nice stuff. He's gonna pick it up, but he's gonna activate a trap. So the floor is covered in grease, and what happens is the player gets a few seconds, and then the traps get a few seconds, and this goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So if you're fast enough, you could just run out. But the floor is covered in grease, which means you have to make sure that you roll. Like if you trip and fall, then you're gonna be toasted to a very fine,
Well, this is cool.
Toasted.
So he moved that box. He got his magical hand thing to move that box, and he's bringing the box over to himself, or doing something with it.
He kind of messes up a little bit here and there, like, and he almost royally screws up, and he almost has to he almost gets his whole company to die yet again, but he's like, just barely.
Much cooler traps and not having you to require to have lightning fast reflexes.
But I like what they're doing here.
Many spells, many actions that you can do. So it's kind of handy to have.
This is a little bit of a quiet scene, so I'm going to ask everybody in the comments, let me know what your preferred class and build is. I want to kind of get a sense of that, because when this game is coming out this year for early access, and it's not like a draw or like you have a chance to maybe get in. It's like, no, you will get in. You will 100% get in on this if you just buy the game, and you can play it right there and then. It's early alpha, so if you don't like unfinished products, don't bother, just wait it out. But if you are gonna like this, then you're gonna be able to get into this. You're gonna be able to stream this. It's not gonna be the whole story, but it's gonna be a bit of the story. I like to mix and match. I'm surprised. Normally, I play kind of like a rogue type, but lately I've been absolutely enamored with the idea of like a two-handed rogue, like a rogue who's using a and he presses the wrong button. All that trouble to get up on the box, and he presses the wrong button. He just steps off the box, manages to save the roll so he doesn't fall over, but so funny. But yeah, I'm enamored with the idea of doing a two-handed rogue build. So you're doing a sneak attack with a two-handed weapon. It's like I really like that concept. It's fun.
We've got a wide range of answers to your question in the chat. Monk, fighter, sorcerer, cleric, rogue, cleric or rogue thief.
No monk at release, but it is, or sorry, at alpha release, but at full release, I do believe the monk is going to be one of the characters, or will be one of the characters in time. So we'll see how that goes. So his little floating hand here is quite handy for a bunch of stuff.
Yep. So he put the box down that button. The box is broken now. Oh, we've got the video's looking quite blocky. Don't know how that's coming through on the stream. There was a lot happening there, but
so yeah, he wanted to show off a couple of different things here, but now I think he's just like, all right, I just gotta get out of here.
Just gotta get out of here without dying somehow.
So he managed to save all of those movement rolls. So lucky. So if you're just pure Dex, then it's good.
Yeah. Here's a so normally you're playing with a party. Is there any kind of a build that would benefit from being more of a lone wolf type, not bringing companions?
Probably the rogue. Well, I mean the fighter, the like, and that's the coolest thing about D&D. I think is that, I mean, most characters you can solo through the adventures. Some of them it's more difficult to,
Yeah.
but in most cases, like, they're balanced enough that most classes can do or can find a way to do most stuff by themselves. Um, there will be more difficult times. Like my preferred 3.5 build, the first 10 levels are brutal. It is a brutal slog. Um, to get through the first 10 levels. Then getting through the next 15 levels, it gets a lot easier, gets a lot quicker. Now this is the room with the skeleton, but it's really difficult, like, overall. Then finally, once you get everything going, and finally once you have everything like rolling in the direction that you want, for my class, and you get to like the upper like scales of it, it's like the only thing that could possibly beat me would be like a wizard. But that's the difficulty of it. Is like, do you want to have just a brutally hard time getting through the game, or getting through these early levels? And is like, what would your choice be? How many times are you going to multi-spec your character so that you get all the XP difficulties, um, and experience losses because you're multi-classing so much, versus like being able to like just plow through something very quickly. And that's, I think, one of those questions that is one of the things that really makes D&D good. So this is the skeleton room. He's walking around very smartly. If you ever walk into a room and there's a bunch of skeletons lying on the ground, but they're all clutching weapons and armor, I mean, and you're about to touch a giant chest in the middle of the room that has like some really cool special items and bonuses, it's like, oh, and he fails this too. He walks up and fails. So he can't get into the special room. All this effort, he can't get into the special room. So he's got to get this other character to come in and roll that room again, because he really, really needs to do that.
So there's
So funny.
so you get one shot at that perception roll,
At
and then
passive perception rolls, yeah, you're walking past, there's a secret hidden door there. You get one shot at that. With each character. Each character gets one.
so if
Now,
if all your characters fail that, you can't get in there.
yeah. So this is where he could have launched that big rock to come down and kill those two characters right at the get-go, and that would have made that encounter much, 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 much more easier. But instead, they didn't, and so he now uses it. But he now, when he uses that rock to smash through the building, he now has a new entrance into the building. So this is kind of cool. Again, it depends on how they use it. It depends on how much the effort that they put into it. But really, I think in the long run, I think this is a really great idea, because again, it's gonna come down to the modders and the people making new adventures to really, really utilize that kind of stuff. And I think you're going to be able to utilize it a lot more than what some people think. So now he runs up to that, and success. So he sends his character out because he wants to do this with just his one character.
Okay, so we're getting a little low on time here.
He's almost done. He's almost done.
Yeah, it's pretty close to the end of the video. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this is not even like, yeah. So he ends up screwing up the game and bugging it out. So he's got to close it out faster. So it's not even the whole video. But he's showing this very, very cool item that he picks up here. And they're showing this because this is one of the things that they want everybody to get or to find, because it gives you the ability to speak with the dead. And whenever you kill a character, you can now speak to them when they're dead, but you only have 5 questions before they pass on. So it's kind of
Oh
like
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty
you can
awesome.
ask,
Yeah.
you can ask a ton of things to corpses, but you only have a limited number of answers that you can give. So then
But
now
do
the
they ever like?
skeletons
Are they ever like, screw off? You killed me. I'm not answering your questions, or is it kind of like they have to answer you?
I think they're kind of like sort of compelled to answer questions. So he's gonna rogue this. So he's gonna sneak out because he doesn't want to do a long protracted fight. And again, if you like, this is the beauty of D&D. I personally would like clear the whole room. You know, clear everything, kill everything that's able to be killed. Avoid. I don't necessarily avoid very much. I do. I don't like slaughter everything that I encounter. Like I'm very like I kill all the baddies whenever I can. I don't kill or slaughter people that I don't think deserve to be killed and slaughtered. So that's where you role play, right? So this is the cool effect of
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
So here he's talking about, you know, it's just, you know, his darkness and how much he potentially could get caught in this, and if he does, I mean, this is kind of a bit of a nail biting scene, because if he gets caught, he's surrounded. Even though he de-equipped most of them from their gear, he's still going to be swarmed by undead. And you know, they walk right past him. They don't manage to do the successful like vision check on him, so it's like, ooh, it was really close there for a second, but he managed to sneak past. So he's moving on out. Now when he gets out here, he's gonna accidentally trigger a bug, a game breaking bug. It's because his little hand summoning pet goes into combat. So he gets spotted here at the end, but he's already near the door. So he's just going to run out. And unfortunately, because he left his pet behind again, this is a bug. It's gonna end up crashing the game here. But this is what the game is like. This is going to be early access, a couple months. It's going to be a little bit buggy. It's going to have lots of player feedback. They thrive on this stuff. They really do. They thrived on this when they were working on DOS. For a long time, people didn't think whether or not they could actually get it to, you know, work. But once they get, and I'm actually doing another playthrough of Divinity Original Sin right now. It's something I wanted to touch up to kind of like familiarize myself with this stuff. And their definitive edition, along with a handful of mods, makes that game just it's a piece of art. It's just beautiful. It's just absolutely stunningly gorgeous. So yeah, the bug here is that he's left his hand companion in the dungeon in that far room, and when they go to leave, and they get both of them to leave the thing, it causes this bug that ends up crashing the game here, and there we go. They can't, because the battle is commencing, because they have a summoned unit inside the thing. So that's the end of the video. So you can kill this now, because he's not able to fix this. So yeah, aside from it being very buggy, they showed 3 hours of this game footage to the journalists. They were intending to show the full, like, you know, hour and a half at the PAX thing, but because he died, they ended up missing a big chunk of what they wanted to do. So they wanted to do more additional more additional time to show you what the game kind of ended with. They were going to have a scenario where he ends up at the camp, they resurrect the shadow, he's sitting there, and then he decides to feed on the party, and then he's got to roll whether or not he ends up accidentally killing them or not, because he's got to roll a successful check, because he's a vampire. He's got to roll a successful check to begin feeding, then he has to roll another successful check to stop feeding before he kills her. Then he's got to roll another check to see if he discovers her, and then there's another check to see if he's infected her. So these are all of the things that happen with this environment. And again, this is everything that happens in a normal D&D game when you're sitting down with your friends and you're playing a campaign. This is stuff that actually happens, and things that you have to roll for, things that you have to be, you know, cautious about, things that you have to like sit down and plan for. These are all things that are part of what's going on. So I am incredibly excited to see where this goes. I'm incredibly excited to see how this ends up, tweaking the experience of what you see, of what you get. Um, this is one of the holy grails. It's not as perfect as I would like it to be, but this is as close to that kind of perfection of this D&D experience that I've been waiting for since I played Neverwinter Nights 1. Neverwinter Nights 2 was good. It came out at a really bad time, and it was not as good as it could have been. There were lots of problems, bugs. The story was kind of meh. And I've been dying for this like full deep dive system where I could really take it, play with friends, play online. And they just have never really had that. This is finally it. And again, bugs, problems. Does it look a little bit too much like DOS? I mean, I guess maybe that's a complaint, but DOS was a great game. I don't mind it looking like DOS as long as if they're as open with modding as they have been. If their goal is to really support this, especially in the modding scene, to allow us to add in literally hundreds of classes, things from 3.0, 3.5, 4.0. 4.0 was not great, but everything that we wanted from the past games, it's all possibly there. And just the baseline, what they're giving us, the vanilla release that we're going to get, is going to be amazing. Once they add in all of the expansions, once they add in all of the, once you get good 2-3 years of modding into it, this game is going to rock, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be one of the best games, I think, ever. And what we've seen here is this is just a really, really early alpha tease. But already, again, I made this comment the other day. If this was in EA's hand, they already would have released this, right? They would have been like, Bethesda probably too, right? It's good enough. All these bugs in here, just put it out. What do we care? We don't care. Because they don't care. But here, Larian Studios, this is what they've been passionate about for so many years, and they're finally hitting this thing out of the park. They're finally going to do it, and it's about damn time that Wizards of the Coast got off their laurels and decided to actually let a company run with this and build this up and create an experience that is monumentous.
Yep.
Yeah, this is. Let us know. Are you generally great feedback? I think out of all of the games, I can't imagine a better a better trade-off. I really can't imagine a better trade-off. We're getting this and Cyberpunk basically in the same year. We have a super sci-fi setting built on the Cyberpunk 2020 kind of tabletop experience. We're gonna get that experience. Then we're gonna get this in its alpha form. And the next year afterwards is probably going to release, maybe a year later, a little or a year and a half later. We're going to get that released, and then by the time that's released, and by the time we're doing stuff with that, we're going to get the multiplayer Cyberpunk. So hey, by the time we finish that, we're going to get the next Bethesda game. So yeah, this next couple of years is going to be, really, really fun, as long as that whole LARPing plaguing thing can calm down. Basically, we're looking at an amazing next few years, and I'm so very excited. And this game is something that back when I was talking about it when it was first announced, I was like, yes, this is something that we've been waiting for so long, and all my info on it was right from the get-go. This is exactly the type of thing that they were building, and this has been great. So yeah, I'm so excited. But
all right,
Tara K has got to go, and I think sorry, not Tara K, Tara Winnigan got to go, and I think we do too. So.
Yep. Well, that music means that we are pushing up against the end of the show. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and please do slam that like button. It likes it rough, and it tells us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. A special thank you to our Patreon supporters and channel members who help make this content possible. Our big damn heroes on Patreon, Josh, Robin, Time Bean, and our two anonymous supporters over there. We really appreciate you. And we appreciate the patrons at every level, absolutely, as well. Also our channel members, Mr. Pad Ziernick, Jer Schultz, Game Notes, Night City Punk, and Terror K. Thank you all so very much. Don't forget, you can join the live show if you're listening after the fact, or if you're listening on one of the audio-only platforms. You can join the live show on YouTube. Currently is on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Check out the Discord server for exact times and schedules. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more gaming content. My name is Ash. On behalf of Obsidian, thank you all so much for listening. We'll talk to you again very soon.